For the rear speakers, we're doing the KFC X174s. It's a 6.5-inch coaxial, and it looks something like this. Similar to the front speaker, it has a rubber surround, but this has a big silk soft dome tweeter, decent sized magnet on the back. These are 4-ohm, and it is going to be replacing this speaker right here. Now, unlike the front speaker, this is a totally different animal, meaning it doesn't have a driver that comes out of it, so that we can easily just set this inside of it and reuse this cool mounting structure that it has in order to not need bash rings or something like that. The good news is, because we're not using the foam on the front doors, we can use that foam on the back doors. Ta-da, that's pretty cool. To mount this in, we are going to need a bracket, and that bracket is the NSB 710. Basically 710 is what you really need to know there. Now, this is a universal Nissan bracket, and as you can see, it looks the same, bolts up the same. It does have these little tabs here, which are for different size speakers, 5 1/4 or whatnot, but as you can see, it kind of gets in the way of this thing mounting properly. To remove them, they just simply break off, and that frees all of that area up. Now, the other thing too, as you'll notice, is that they are a lot shallower than the factory ones. And that's a good thing, because we need to add this into here, which once we do that, you'll see how it gains that thickness that this speaker had. So they were kind of thinking about that when they designed this bracket, knowing that, you know, these are like 1/4 of an inch, we're gonna need some travel. But that'll also give us the room to put some foam around here, so it will couple with the door panel. The first thing we need to do is add some foam to both the front and back of this. We have a 1/16 inch foam that we like to use. Test fit it, make sure that the speaker covers all of the hole. Poke the holes in the foam so you know where to put your screw holes. Plug is there. And sometimes these brackets will actually have the hole in it for the wiring to come out. This one does not. That means we need to drill a small hole, line it up with the holes. Get it all tightened up. As you saw, don't do like this one all tight and then that, you know, kind of work your way around it. That'll keep the speaker nice and centered, and also keep it from what we call tacoing, where the speaker starts to bend. The thicker foam that was in the top of the 6x9 that we didn't need on the 6x9 because the speaker went in and we were able to use that factory bracket, we could now apply to the top of this speaker. And this is what we end up with for a rear speaker that can now go into the car. I'll get this off to Fernando so he can get the wires extended and get this screwed into place.
For the rear speakers, is no different as far as removing the door panel as the front. Grab your pry tool. Disconnect your door switch. With your finger, start prying the bottom side. And this one, you definitely have to remove the clip from the tweeter. This one is attached to the door panel. Grab like a pick tool, and you remove it. The speaker has the same thing, 3 10mm screws. To connect our speaker, we definitely need to extend our wires because the plug is on the bottom. So luckily we have the same colors in the primary wire that we use. So we use orange and blue. Didn't already test the polarity on our speakers, so we already know the blue it's our positive and oranges are negative. And we're gonna put our terminals. Make sure you line up all your screws. We are using the same screws to mount the bracket. And in this situation, we're not gonna use the factory tweeter, so we're gonna leave it unplugged, but we're gonna put a zip tie so it's not just flopping around. When you finish putting the door panel, sometimes the rubber on the side of the window, it gets caught up inside the door panel. So you grab your pry tool and slowly Just push it up. Rear speakers is done.
It's been some time since I put this harness into the passenger floorboard here, and I've had a couple things to think about. One, power wire. Where's the battery in this? Fernando, can you pop the hood for me?
Yes, of course.
Let's take a look and find out, because that's kind of important. We don't want to drape this 4-gauge wire all over the car if we don't need to. Oddly enough, the battery is right here. Very appealing to go try to figure out how to go on the passenger side and mount the amp there. However, there's a grommet on the driver's side that has nothing in it. It's just a rubber grommet, which is that little guy right there next to the big grommet, which is kind of funny because they ran a wire through that big grommet like that little spot there is perfect. Getting through this passenger side is definitely going to be a struggle, according to Fernando, which I tend to agree with him. And there is a big factory grommet on this side, but it is located on the other side of the air conditioner. Sometimes the low-hanging fruit is the better move, especially when we'd have to go through a factory grommet that has existing wire in it. We tend to try to avoid that at all costs. We like to drill our own hole, mainly for service reasons. If you take it in and there's a big power wire like on this side that whoever put these lights in did, if something goes bad in the harness or whatever, it's easily blamed on you. So we don't do that. So I'm gonna agree with Fernando. I think the driver's side is the better way to go. We have this giant harness that goes across the top, which is easy enough for us to attach to. We have plenty of wire. We're using the Stinger kit, which has 18 feet of wire. I like that. That's what we're gonna do. That means I'm going to extract this harness that I just did. I'm going to lengthen it so that I can move it across, or move the top of the center console, the cup holders and stuff like that. They just unsnap. Another thing that we decided to do is do a bi-amp scenario, and we'll talk more about that once we get to the amplifier and why we're doing that. Just kind of keep that one floating in the back of your mind. We'll talk more about that.